Welcome to Think Like a Pancreas, the podcast, where our goal is to keep you informed, inspired, and a little entertained on all things diabetes. The information contained in this program is based on the experience and opinions of the Integrated Diabetes Services clinical team. Please discuss any changes to your treatment plan with your personal healthcare provider before implementing.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Integrated Diabetes Think Like a Pancreas podcast. I'm Kristi Paguio, and I'm with Amy Sczepanski. And Amy's here today to tell a really important part of her journey with diabetes that involves part of her mental health journey. Amy, maybe you would say it differently or better. Well, let me share a little bit. I'm a mental health professional who specializes in diabetes. Myself, I've lived with type 1 for over 25 years and love to delve into the lighthearted parts of diabetes and also the harder parts of life with diabetes that intersects with mental health a lot of times. So I heard Amy tell a little bit of her story and wanted to partner with her on this to be a support, not to her, but just to her and to other people that I've had the fortune to have them entrust their stories with me.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things I've seen over probably the last 6 years is just everyone is dealing with something. And, some things are maybe a little easier to talk about than other things. Some things are very heavy and, like how would you bring it up or how would you talk about it? But I just have seen from my own journey how much I've benefited from other people telling me their stories. And I think ultimately that is where I'm coming from with this. And I've had a similar podcast where I kind of talked about stuff, but I feel like now I'm in a better place, but also have kind of learned the steps to healing and to, getting on medication and finding the things that have really aided me in the healing process. And before this time, it was like, buck up, little beaver. Like, don't think about it too much, push ahead, be busy. And that in itself can be a downfall just because it can cause you to just go so fast that you're not stopping and maybe sitting in the pain and sitting in the uncomfortableness of what you're dealing with and actually putting a name on it.
The listeners probably want to hear what happened and then also what did you learn about yourself and what you needed to learn through that and what did you need to keep in your life as sort of like a web of support.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in a very conservative home. My dad was a pastor, and it's so difficult because it's like you grow up and there are so many good memories and there's so many good things. I look back, like the backpacking trips we did with our parents and the family barbecues, and there's certain aspects that I'm like, I had a very good upbringing. My parents love me, and I know that. But then there was the side of that was you're very involved in the church and what the church is doing, and other people, not necessarily my parents, were speaking into my life as well. And I was in my early 30s. So I hit a point where I'm a full grown adult. I have a mind of my own, and I think I finally realized I wasn't using that and wasn't being able to think for myself. I was told what to think and how to believe. And I believed because the Bible said it or because this person and I'm not saying any of those things are wrong. I have a very different view of it now. But that point in my life, I hadn't been in a relationship, hadn't dated. The church did courtship. So it was very old fashioned and, very different from what any of my peers had grown up like. It was definitely a different experience to compared to people my age. And I think that was kind of the marking point. I met someone and ultimately started a relationship with this person and didn't tell anyone about it. It was under the scenes. And I think my breaking point is I knew what I was doing was wrong because I was lying, but then I also knew it was wrong that at 30, 31 years old that I couldn't just choose what I wanted to choose and not have people either judge me for it or tell me it was wrong. Whether or not the person I was with was someone that was good to be with, it was my choice.
Mhm.
And looking back now, and with the experience and the knowledge I have now, I wasn't making a good choice. Didn't really even have the tools to make that choice correctly. And I think now I know I would have chosen a different path. If I had known now what I know now, I don't think I would have chosen the road that I went down. But I did. And I really struggled because I was going against what I believed at the time. Months of kind of sneaking around and not telling people, and my whole friend group didn't know. And then what eventually happened is I lost my virginity, and that was kind of my breaking point of like, okay, this is okay. We're going to get married and this is going to be okay. Everything that's happening is going to get closed up in a little box and a bow's going to be tied on. And that wasn't the case. And at that point, I had lost a lot of weight. I was like not doing well, just mentally. I was juggling 2 different jobs and school events and meetings and church and all the different practices and music things. And I think one of the biggest things the church was to keep us busy, so we didn't have time, not even necessarily to get in trouble, but just like keep the young people busy. I hit a very low point. And then at that point, the person I was, in love with, that was my first love, he told me, like, this isn't going to work. I can't do this anymore. It's all this pressure of this, the secret relationship. And like, I'm done. I don't view you the same way that I did. I care about you. I will never love you the same way. And I think that was my turning point where I realized everything, put my eggs in a basket and I had nothing else. Like all my
You've
hope.
gone out on a limb to be in this relationship outside of the
Church.
structure that you'd grown up in. Now it was, and it was going to be okay if you put a bow on it and got married. But then I wonder if it started to feel like that was crumbling and,
Mhm.
yeah, you,
It was.
yeah.
It really was. Like I was not eating, I wasn't hungry, I wasn't sleeping, I was drinking, I just was doing all these very quiet things. So like people that knew me well knew something was wrong. My parents knew something was wrong. I'm high, I'm low. Like you can blame it on your diabetes. Like it was easy. It wasn't easy to cover things, but I did it in a way that I was like, I'm dealing with stuff. I'm just dealing with health stuff. I'm tired, and covered the fact that I was emotionally unhealthy, not doing well, struggling really for my life. I hit a point where I I was just like, I'm so tired and I'm so done. Like I would pray like, Lord, let me go to sleep and let me not wake up. Like I was just tired. I didn't necessarily like want to kill myself or die, but I felt like I couldn't go on. And then in that time frame, that was probably early 2019. And I attempted suicide with insulin.
Right.
Definitely, that was a very low point, and I didn't tell anyone at first because my my mom somehow has spider senses, and she came in and they didn't know what was going on. They just thought it was a low, and she treated me, and it was waking up the next morning was just really hard because it was like, damn it, that didn't work. Like that was my out. Like I I didn't know what to do. And so I didn't say anything to anyone and was just a hot mess. Like, I wasn't showing up for music and church meetings on time, and I just was struggling. And so I attempted again. And again, it was in the evening and a parent came in, one of my parents, because I was living at home at the time, came in and I didn't, again, didn't say anything, didn't feel like I had the space to. And then it came out and I told my dad and it was kind of was a scene because then people in the church found out. It became not just something that I was struggling with getting the help of like a physician or a mental health, advisor. I was feeling very like someone told me if you kill yourself or attempt suicide or you know you'll end up in hell. Like I had one person tell me that from the church, and that upset my mother. Everyone has their different
Gross
beliefs.
oversimplification.
Yeah, and it was like, I had hit a point where I didn't even care, I didn't wanna keep going. My closest and best friend didn't even know what I was going through, and she got engaged, and then I'm just like, "Fuck," like, everything in everyone else's life is going well, and I'm doing
Mhm.
terribly,
Mm.
and no one knows, but people knew what I really was struggling with. I don't even think my best friend really
Mm.
even knew.
Your relationship is falling apart,
Yeah,
and her relationship is moving towards engagement.
yeah. Yeah. And, and it's hard to talk about. And I feel like only people that are in a culture like that, because I know not every church is like that, but like just a very strict and a culture of, religion is Jesus is number one and there's nothing inside or outside of that. And stepping outside of that system, I didn't have a way to even think. Like I wasn't prepared for the world. I wasn't prepared for a relationship. I was prepared for the way that I was supposed to go, whether that was courtship and getting married and having a baby and starting a house and making sourdough bread and doing all the things the women did, or if it was like, oh, you're a single woman, you got to teach in the school and do all the things. And so I hit a low point and I didn't know what to do. And I really struggled, and so I left. I moved out of my parents' house. I told my dad, I said, "I can't do this anymore. I'm disconnecting from this life that I've only known just this." Basically went out not prepared into the world. And by being prepared, just understanding like the nature of people, understanding that not everyone's your friend, understanding that people take advantage of you, the falling back on a drug or on alcohol or on, whatever the things are. And I feel like that was also another very difficult thing for me. I ended up leaving and I did not have a lot of friends. I didn't have a lot of connections outside the church, and there was a family that basically let me move in with them. Someone I had met at the gym, very good and kind people. Shout out to Fred and Linda, as they definitely and continue to support me in ways that I didn't really feel supported in before. Like someone supporting you in specific thing, and then there's someone who supports you in whatever choices you make, whether this is a very very bad choice and this is not what you should be doing, or just going, I whatever you choose, we support you, this might not be the best thing for you, and giving that sage wisdom of being able to go, we love you and we support you, we don't agree with this. And I had support from these people, and just I don't if I hadn't have had that, I don't think I would be where I'm at right now. That makes me get a little emotional just because I know how much they cared about me, and the fact that, they took me under their wing when I needed it the most.
You were vulnerable and they
Yeah.
respected you and
Yeah.
respected your decisions and spoke very honestly and wisely into your life, but gave you the respect in the room to have your own sense of self, your own
Yeah.
agency about yourself, which was this whole learning curve of like, how do you show up in the world with the conservative upbringing that you grew up in that intentionally is probably trying to very much create a safe structure, but sometimes can have pluses and minuses, and you were definitely experiencing minuses, but I would imagine that you saw all kinds of pluses in that community of how
Yeah.
come it's working for everybody else and not for me?
Yeah. And I think that was one of the things I struggled with is maybe I should have stayed. But one of the things that I told myself is I am leaving and I am not coming back. I am not going to, in whatever way that looked like, whether that was like I need help financially or I need help emotionally. I had chosen the road I was going to take. And I told myself, no matter how bad it gets, I'm following that road. And it got pretty bad. I was abusing alcohol. I was self-harming. I hit the lowest of low points. And I think I was abusing myself with the relationship I was in. I think that was probably the worst abuse that I put myself through is trying to be with someone who has told you I don't want to be with you and has proved that they don't, and then to continue to try to push for that. And I think one of the biggest things I've learned is that the people that are in your life that love you and that are there for you, no matter what you do, no matter the situations around you, they're going to be there for you. And those are the people that you count on. And those people that come in and give you the sweet words or tell you they love you. And maybe they do, maybe they did. Maybe it wasn't all bad. Like that's I think a hard part is discriminating between like this was a bad situation, this was a good situation. But realizing the solid people in your life are the ones that carry you through.
What I hear you saying, Amy, is like there's an unconditional love to real friendships and people that love you, family or friends or family. But in this other relationship, it was a conditional. It was this mixed messaging that it wasn't always bad, but it was this rejection, but also a sense of connection, but with intermittent rejection that was
And
just messing you up.
it fucked with me so bad because it's like fishing where you're like, you reel it in and then you let it go and you reel it in and you let it go. And it's keeping it at bay, at a hand away.
Yeah. While also telling you to calm, right? But
Yeah.
also pushing you like,
I
so which
was
is it,
so
right?
confused. I
Yeah.
was so confused. And
I
I think what I've learned is those solid people in your life and Fred and Linda, Tanya, Matt, my parents, my brother, like there's people that have been unconditional. And those, whether it's like a romantic relationship or not, those are the people that are carrying you through. And I think that was one of my first like I do have people that love me. I do have people that care about me. And no matter what that one person has done isn't going to take any of that away. And I think when I finally realized that, like I'm not looking for like this romantic love. I'm looking for love. But that could come from a friend, it could come from a coworker, it could come from a parent, it could come from a pet. And I'm a cat mom. I got my cat Charlotte, and that was kind of I think one of the times when I realized I was self-harming and I went, I'm taking care of something. I don't have time to hurt myself anymore. And I was like, okay. So it's like these baby steps of, we're just doing one little thing at a time. It's like one foot in front of the other.
Word from our sponsor. Byram Healthcare understands that managing diabetes isn't one size fits all. With a full range of CGMs, insulin pumps, and diabetes supplies from top brands, Byram makes it easy to get what you need, hassle-free, shipped right to your door. And Byram's team of experts helps navigate insurance so you can focus on living your best life. Ready for better diabetes care? Visit byramhealthcare.com/podcast or call 866-692-8024 and select option 3. And now, back to our program.
What was the turning point for you? Sometimes I think about it like a swimming pool. Like sometimes our feet finally hit the bottom and then we push off. Like what was that low point? And then what helped? What was the resilience factors or the things that helped you connect with yourself and people that love you? Like what were those decisions? And then what was
I feel like the things that helped bring me out of that was friends and family. That was the biggest thing. I had people that I'd text when I was sitting on my kitchen floor crying or, just the solid people that I had. And it wasn't a huge group. And I don't think you should have a huge group of these are my ride or dies. These are my people that when I'm at my lowest point, I'm calling. Like you want to have a group of those people, but it's not everybody in your life. And then therapy, I started a job at a hospital and we were given sessions, therapy sessions. And I had never done therapy up to that point. And was a little kind of taboo at first for me. Like, is this really even going to help? Like, you have when you don't understand something, you have this like movie view or a view of what someone else has said about it. And you don't really have this is what I believe. Therapy was probably one of the biggest game changers for me because it was showing me not only like what my struggles were and how to move forward from them, but this isn't the end. And I think that was the turning point is when I realized like my story wasn't over.
Yeah.
And I think that was my low point is when I realized like there's nothing left. My story is done. Like I have nowhere else to go. And when I finally figured out, no, your story is far from being over. You just got a little work to do in the meantime to get yourself to a point of being healthy. And I think that was finally when I could breathe again, I think.
I was thinking, Amy, as you were talking about it seems like there's a part of you that like turned against yourself with that
Mm.
self-abuse and tolerate like and getting sucked into toxic relationship and all of it. And then there was this pivotal point that you then were staying with yourself, with your
Yeah.
kitty Charlotte, with therapy, with really being intentional about connecting with friends and family and almost like looking at what you have versus what you don't have and how much we can all struggle with when we're so focused on what we don't have or feel lost and then adding type 1 into the mix. It's just
Oh,
this
yeah.
never ending beast and battle, right? That just is this other burden that we live with or that is wrong with us in a way, right?
Yeah. And I think that was hard too because it's like you're dealing with emotionally life-threatening things. Diabetes goes to the wayside. I eat what I wanted and drink what I wanted and not that I was fully like I don't care, but I definitely like when my mental health wasn't doing well, my diabetes wasn't doing well. And I really appreciate the support. Jenny Smith is my clinician and has been for about 8 years. And she was one of those solid people. I'm telling my story to her and I'm like, this sounds crazy. And I think that's the other thing is you feel nuts. Like I'm the only one that's dealing with this. I'm the only one who thinks this the way like, so you're putting yourself in this box of like being alone. And I think being able to have the people there, but then also like hearing other stories. And I think that was where I finally realized like the people I started running into, some of which have become amazing friends, and hearing their struggles and their stories.
That was a lot, Amy, of why you said you even wanted to do this was because your experience, so many of us can relate to, and yet so little do we get to hear people really talk about
Yeah.
their dark nights of the soul, right? And how diabetes intersected that. But that was your real passion. It's like, I just want to rip the Band-Aid off. I just want to say it.
Yeah.
I
And
want
I
to
think the
feel.
people that were honest with me about what they had struggled with in the past or were struggling with, like, really helped me push through, because we're all dealing with some sort of
Something.
pain and loss and hurt and diagnosis, whether that's type 1 or whatever the things are, family members dying. It's like we're all going through it. Being able to talk with someone and go, I'm holding your hand. I'm not okay. I know you're not okay, but I'm here for you. Like, that's such a big
Right,
thing.
right, right. Yeah. It's huge, Amy, what you're saying, right? And it takes so much courage to be vulnerable. And you're being so vulnerable and in talking about, but that's strength. Like, and you're so graciously giving this to the audience, right? To normalize. It's okay to
Yeah.
hurt and it's okay and it's good to look for helpers. Build a
Yeah.
support system because we all hurt. We're all broken. We with type 1 just have this easy diagnosis to sort of hang a hat on of like, well, this is our brokenness, but then it just goes so
Right.
much deeper than that on a human level. Diabetes is just a little part of us. It's not all of us.
Yeah. And I think too, like in the therapy, not only was like the stuff with the relationship, because that was like where I went, this is my problem. We need to deal with this. And then I realized like it stems way farther back than that. And so going through the therapy, realizing like I have always felt like a burden. And so I asked myself and my therapist, like, why do I feel that way about myself? And she's like, asks me questions, it kind of draws me out. And I was like, it's my diabetes. I have
Right.
always been a burden to my parents. I am the friend in the friend group that's like, hey, I need to, take a break.
Beeping during a podcast, right? Because it's time to replace my pod and it takes the time
But
now.
I'm waiting because I want to save that golden insulin. And I think that was one of the mindsets that I didn't even realize I was carrying and needed help opening that package up
The trauma.
realize
Yeah.
and realizing, yeah, like, no, you're not a burden. And then having friends tell me that and my mom, like,
Diabetes is a burden. You're not a burden, but that's
yeah,
tangled.
and realizing the intertwining of that, but then realizing that people aren't feeling that way about you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's hard as an adult with type 1 is you're juggling work and family and a relationship and
Right.
children if you have them or pets and
Right.
you're doing this juggling act
Yeah.
and at the same time you have this thing in the back of your head that's telling you like you not having dinner ready at 7:30 because you had a low and you needed to stop and do this, like that's on you. And I think the people in your life that are gracious to you and tell you, like my mom goes, I would wake up every night at 1 in the morning for the rest of your life if you needed that. Well, mom, that's just you. But then hearing other people say the exact same thing in a different way
Yeah.
and realizing like we're not a burden and we put that pressure on ourselves to be. I think as a diabetic you have this like I need to have all my stuff together. I need my
It's
not only my
it's inherent.
I need care.
Right. It's self-managed, right? Like, yeah, it's managing all of the decisions. It's like having our hands on the steering wheel and we don't just get to pass it off. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's difficult because it's trying to decipher like is this diabetes, is this mental health, is this
Right.
do I have a chronic fatigue, like what what thing. And I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's in the end of 2020, and
Oh,
that was just like a game changer of like, oh my gosh, this is why I'm losing hair and can't go to the bathroom and like all these things are happening. And just like it's a relief kind of to get the news that, not that I wanted to know that I was
sometimes
diagnosed.
the diagnosis can be helpful, right? Because it's like there's a name for this and there's a
Yeah.
treatment. And same with depression or right is like sometimes just the power of being able to say, oh, this is what this is. Now I can look for the helpers or look for treatment.
Yeah. And I think that was a big thing is I grew up in a very rural area. Never once I graduated from the UCSF pediatrics, I didn't have an endocrinologist for 19 years. And so we were in the boonies and everything was 4 to 5 hours away. You made do with what you had, hence finding integrated diabetes. When my dad found that, he's like, I will pay for this and has continued paying for it so that I could have the help I needed. But I moved to Pennsylvania and met with psychologist and a therapist and was diagnosed with some different things. And when I got on medication for the things that I was struggling with, and I knew that I had had different things and ADHD and different, and the therapist said, well, see what this medication does. I think it's going to really help you. And I had been on different things and some of them made me feel really gross. Some of them like didn't seem to help at all. And I got on this medication and it was like a life change.
Oh,
And even my boyfriend was like, I noticed a shift. And I was so ashamed in the past to be like, yeah, I'm on this medication, I'm taking this, but it's okay to need medication and everything that you're dealing with. Like, we wouldn't tell a type 1 diabetic, like, we used to just like exercise when you eat breakfast so you don't have to take insulin. Like, you
Right.
don't need insulin.
Right.
Well, why are we telling someone with a mental health problem, like, you shouldn't be using medication or you should just try to buck up and take care of it?
Right. We wouldn't say if this was a heart condition or a hypothyroidism condition or diabetes, or when it comes to mental health, we'll say, oof, but
Yeah.
those,
There's such a, like,
this,
so much behind it that I think people don't understand, and I feel like more people would benefit from medication, and I'm not saying to be on medication that isn't specifically meant for something, but I'm saying if you are bipolar, and that was one of the things they said to me, and that was like a kick in the gut because I was like, "Oh, cool. Now I have something else that I have to deal with that I never really even realized was a thing that I could be dealing with." And again, it was a relief. Like, it was a little bit of a relief to hear that because it was like, okay, here's the problem.
Right.
And it's not necessarily a problem in the sense of, like, we get you on a medication. These are exercise helps you. Not drinking a lot of alcohol helps you. Getting outside in nature helps you. So I found the
and
thing
your diabetes help you, right? Yeah.
and I found the things that helped me move forward, and I forget sometimes and I can fall back, and then I'm reminded again, okay, go do yoga, go outside for a walk. We find these tools that help push us through. It's okay to have those tools, and it's okay to need them and not be able to function without them. And I think that is one of my biggest things, is to let anyone know who is struggling with mental health issues. Like, don't be afraid, one, to talk about it. Don't be afraid to be on a medication.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to speak your mind of, like, this is how I'm feeling. And I think until that point, I wasn't able to really speak my mind of, like, I am struggling with this, whatever. And when I finally got down to, I feel like a burden and I feel
Yeah.
worthless and I feel like my life is over, and got that out, I was like, That's the wrong story. That's not
Well, and the other parts of it were like you needed thyroid replacement hormone, right? And you needed you were untreated with bipolar disorder. So like you needed your chemistry literally needed nurturing in order for you to feel whole again.
Yeah.
But it meant that there had to be kind of more diagnoses come in for you to start to get the full picture and get treatment so that you felt like you were up now to baseline.
Yeah. And I think that is where in our society, I think we struggle with just putting a happy face on. And, like, everyone gets to see my birthday photos on Instagram or my new apartment or this or that. And, like, I'm not saying that we need to post about all this for everyone to read, but, like, sometimes for me to read someone's post, and a lot of type 1s do this. I feel like in the diabetic community, this is a big thing of just like, I was crying because I caught my third pump thing on a door and ripped it out for the third time today. Or I was struggling with just being high all night and woke up feeling like crap and still had to go to work.
Yeah.
And hearing those stories in, just the real side of people, it makes you realize, like, I'm not alone. I'm not fighting this by myself. And then I think that has given me the drive to be able to want to give back to others, whether that's just like telling someone you love them, telling someone you're here for them. Like, I don't always have the right thing to say, but I can always tell someone, if you need anything, call me. I love you, whatever you need help with. And I think
Mhm.
with mental health, that's like probably number one, of just realizing and knowing you have people that love you. You're not a burden. They're just the same. You know,
About it, Amy, like what you're saying is, come to me if you need anything. And if I can't figure it out, we'll look for the helpers together. And kind of like what you were talking about with the type 1 community, and what one of the beautiful things about integrated diabetes services, right, is like that the team consists of people that live with type 1. So inherently,
yeah.
we've got that lived experience. Of course, everybody's journey is different, but just how much what you were just saying about finding community, especially how much we resonate with other people that walk this, where like you're beeping, I'm beeping, like there's something about like, oh gosh, doing a podcast and beeping, it's okay. It's finally
Yeah.
okay. We just need each other for those little things that pop up, but then on the deeper level, really finding your web of support and cultivating that, building a support system.
Oh, and it's crazy too because one of my really good friends I met on Instagram and then found out that she lived about 5 or 6 hours from me. And so before I moved over to Pennsylvania, we'd meet in the middle at
Oh,
like the halfway point. And it was just so encouraging to have someone who's like knows what you're going through. And we became really close, are really close. We're separated by thousands and thousands of miles now, but I'm just as close with her as I was when we would see each other a couple times during the summer. And I think that is like we need that community, but having people in your life that know exactly what you're going through and not having these expectations of like you need to act a certain way or
makes
mm,
me think about
just
like sometimes we have to build it over time, right?
yeah,
Like that when I think about your story, that it took time. There's so much precious time that's happening along this story for you, right? Of like not seeing yourself clearly and then getting some clarity and then getting more like at the start of your conversation, right? Was like, this is how I grew up and like it was loving, I had good memory, but then I left, just this journey that's got
yeah,
sort of these twists and turns, right? And then what you're talking about now is the way that you have built and connected with people. We could
yeah,
keep talking. I'm looking at the clock because we could keep talking effortlessly for probably another hour. And then it would be my turn to share.
yeah.
Is there any sort of last thoughts, Amy, of like lessons you've learned or anything that you didn't say yet that you would want to say to a listener?
It's okay to be vulnerable. I know that's a Brene Brown. Like she's very, very much on that vulnerability,
Yeah.
but like it's okay to fail. It's okay to not feel like you're enough. But where do you go with that? You can't sit there. And I think
Yeah.
what happened with me is I sat in that space so long, just ruminating on these things that weren't true, that I started creating a story of who I was on what I thought outside of what was real. So it like you're separating truth and reality from what's in your mind. And just I think being able to say I'm not okay and that's okay.
Yeah. It was
And
in that vulnerability that you were so brave and got it was like going through the vulnerability is what led you to freedom,
yeah.
back to yourself.
Yeah. And I think too, like, as I said at my lowest point, this is the end of my story. And, when people would tell you like it's not, and you're just like, okay, thank you for trying to be nice.
Yeah.
But like it really wasn't. And just someone who's struggling right now, like hang in there. It will get better. And I know it's shitty to hear that when you're in the middle of not feeling good because people said it to me and I was like, great. Like it's wonderful that you're saying that. But like now I'm in a healthy relationship. I have 2 cats, hopefully a third soon. I'm living in a nice house. I have the medication I need. I am happy. I took a vacation this month. Like those were all things that 5 years ago, 4 years ago, I would have been like, that's not me. That's for
Right.
someone else.
Happen.
And so it's like hang in there. It's gonna get better.
It's like hang in there and look for the helpers. That's what you did, right? That you kept looking for helpers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those people in my life, I think that's why I get so emotional, because I'm so grateful for the ones who have stood by my side.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those are the souls, like, search for those people,
Right.
because they're out there. It can be so depressing when you just hit a bunch of, like, sour experiences with people, or people that you're just not a part of their group, or you're not, they're maybe not a good fit for you, or, relationships that fail, that you go like, "That person was a good person. What did I do to end that? Like, why did I do that?" But it can turn you inward to a point where you can go, not what is my problem, but like, what do I need to address in myself?
Yeah.
I can't just stay here like this, even where I'm at now, for the rest of my life. We're continually growing and moving forward. And I think why my relationship now is so much better is I'm able to actually go, "I made a mistake. I'm sorry. That's not who I am."
Yeah.
I'm not changing myself, and I'm not gonna never not mess up again, but, like, taking initiative and realizing, like,
It's not about being perfect is what I hear you saying. It's about owning your like that ability to reflect
yeah,
on I'm not perfect and I don't expect somebody else to be. I'll make mistakes. I can say I'm sorry. I can do the repairs right when there's a rupture intentionally or on it, or like,
yeah,
by omission or commission. But Amy, thank
yeah.
you so much for sharing your story with us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I
Mhm.
know everyone has a story. I think what I realized over the last 6 years is we all have stories, and everyone really benefits from your story being told. And I know I've benefited from others who I'm not even in contact anymore with, that I heard their story and I was that carried me through. And
Right.
I think for anyone and for myself, it's just like letting people know that you're not okay. That's okay. But it's also, as Gary replied in my email, it's also okay not to be okay.
Mhm.
Like, we do need our hands held sometimes, and we need to be carried through difficult times. But it's just really put in my heart to love the people around me. Even if I'm not going to have like a super close relationship with someone, like, everyone needs to be loved. And sometimes just saying that to a stranger is, "If you need anything, let me know." Like,
Mhm.
I know we're not close, but I'm
Mhm.
here for you.
Beautiful. Thanks again for sharing your story with us.
Thanks for tuning in to Think Like a Pancreas, the podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, follow, or subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Think Like a Pancreas, the podcast is brought to you by Integrated Diabetes Services, where experience meets expertise, passion meets compassion, and diabetes care is personal because we live it too. Our team of clinicians, all living with type 1 diabetes, understands the challenges firsthand. We're here to help no matter where you are in the world. From glucose management to self-care strategies, the latest tech, sports and exercise, weight loss, type 1 pregnancy, and emotional well-being, we've got you covered. We offer consultations in English and Spanish via phone, video chat, email, and text. Want to learn more? Visit integrateddiabetes.com or email info@integrateddiabetes.com to schedule a consultation. On behalf of Think Like a Pancreas, the podcast, I'm Gary Shiner, wishing you a fantastic week ahead. And don't forget to think like a pancreas.